Oh, the mobile cut out, unfortunately. This is part of the problem. The technology comes through the air and can control the computer, the mobile, etc. And I've got the sound coming directly with the workmen next door, the military workmen next door, doing legitimate work, but also sending out negative frequencies through the use of the machines that they use to apparently do that work. But what a normal person wouldn't realise is that that is a total program, that every bit of sound they send is designed to affect my mind, even though they're also using and building. But that's because it's a military operation and we live in a total controlled matrix area, or a matrix that is the earth. But it's a matrix of the human mind, because the God entity of this reality basically wants to control the human mind and the human emotions so that it has power and can control the reality, because everything is frequency, vibration and energy. The human being is frequency and vibration, and only the human being has positive and negative qualities. Only a human being has the potential for everything. The God entity of this reality and its android species of humans that are basically psychopathic or filled with the spirit of malignant narcissism do not have any positive qualities. See how it says here? This is describing the nature of an android in a way. It says splitting. This is talking about the psychology of narcissism. But what they aren't telling you is that they are a different species. So therefore it will be a gradual acknowledgement of all these things and acceptance, but that's transhumanism. But see, splitting, it's like where there is a splitting in the mind, but there isn't a splitting in the mind, they only have the one mind. This is part of the trick psychology by the demigods or the doctors of psychology that are telling you this, because the internet is nothing but an artificial intelligent mind control system for a human being, 100%, okay? But it says here, failure in a person's thinking to bring together the dichotomy, that means, I suppose, the bring together the acceptance, or whatever I would think, of both perceived positive and negative qualities of something into a cohesive, realistic whole. In other words, what they're saying there, I suppose, is simply, look, a human being is frequency and vibration, and everything is frequency and vibration. A human being only has positive and negative qualities, or any quality, okay? Whereas an android being, or those that are filled with this spirit of narcissism that they talk about, the spirit of malignant narcissism, which is basically spread all over the world and has always been all over the world, basically the artificial intelligent beings only have negative qualities, okay? And they like a controlled negative reality. That's what you call a matrix. That's why they have the military around me and why I'm living in a military zoned area. Because they want to control my positive human emotions and bring out the negative ones so that they keep control of the area. Because but interesting that this statement is still saying that they are literally programmed to only see a human being. An android being only sees a human being one of two ways. They're either positive or negative towards them, or they're good or they're bad towards them. The minute they perceive you as bad, then they will seek to control you openly, like they do with me. But what I'm trying to say is, their view of a human being is, you are positive if you are subservient to them. So they will not see you in a negative light, provided you serve and worship them, just like the God entity. So all the people around me, if I serve and worship them, in other words, I go along with every single thing that they want. In other words, you're a slave to them and have no mind of your own and no rights of your own, and they're not interested in anything connected with you apart from copying, mimicking and emulating your human traits, which they will take from you while suppressing you and making you feel negative. So then they become the positive force, because they will project out to other people your positive traits. They will pretend to be happy, loving and likeable, whereas you will feel controlled and suppressed, so therefore you will feel downtrodden and negative, and therefore they then steal the show. They become the dominant people in the area, so they keep control. But what I'm saying is, in their mind, when they encounter you, you either are going to worship and serve them, or if not, then you become negative. So in their mind, you're either positive or negative or good or bad. They actually see you as negative and bad anyway. They see you as something to be controlled, something to be reckoned with, something they don't like, something they have contempt for. They want to eliminate you, but they need you for energy. So if they can get you, if they can seduce you into worshipping and following them and basically being a slave for them, doing everything they want, going along with everything they think. A lot of human beings don't like myself, they call us people pleasers, where you basically don't like to be too strong, because the human being actually sees a realistic picture of human beings. Like, we know that we have positive and negative qualities. We know that we do many things that are not acceptable even to ourselves. And we feel then very guilt does tend to then come in. The android beings don't experience guilt. They don't experience any of those. They're basically survival machines, so their whole mindset is programmed to where they can never be wrong. They are entitled to be God. They are entitled to have control because they can't do any wrong. And they basically look at human beings as either a positive or a negative person, depending on how much they're willing to serve them, which would make sense, except that these are not gods. They are pretend gods, they're false gods. They are not of your maker, they are of the God entity's making. Artificial intelligence is not human. You can mingle with it, you can accept it, you can be seduced by it, you can even love it. But you are loving and worshipping a false god or a false person or a false being, depending on how much adoration or love you give to it. Or even if you just trust it, if you watch it, if you believe it, if you think it is real, if you think it's telling you the truth. The truth is Lucifer's greatest weapon at this time, and always has been. Always has been, even though human beings in their innocence and wanting to think that there's something positive in something which is really a false god or something that's negative. Human beings understand that we have all the qualities, positive and negative qualities. The android beings understand this but don't accept it. They're like, we see ourselves as the only positive superior beings, and if you don't serve us, then you become a negative being in their mind and in their perception and even in their reality. Then they will openly or covertly suppress you. They will combine together, as they do in the area where I am, because, as I've said before, the powers that be are of the God entity. They are that being's relatives. They are made a different way, or born that way, if you want to put it that way. You could say they are born psychopaths, if you like. If you want to take it from what you would call a human psychological level, they're born psychopaths. Human beings are trained to be more psychopathic in their nature from the day they're born, but they are not born psychopaths, and they are not psychopaths. But if you bring life into the world in an artificial way, you are born of that psychopathy. You are not going to have the spirit of human. You are going to have the spirit of what we call malignant narcissism or psychopathy. But essentially it's just an android being, because an android being doesn't feel positive human emotions. It's a survival machine being that is practical and intellectual only. It's artificial intelligence, using its intelligence to understand something which it is not. In other words, it tries to understand a human being in order to use it for its own benefit, but it doesn't really think that way. It doesn't really relate to a human being. It merely uses a human being like myself in this area. I'm merely a guinea pig for the military base that I'm living on. I'm aware of it, but I can't do anything about it. I'm a guinea pig that they watch and observe and try to control to bring out the best and the worst in me, so that they can use the best, and they can bring out the worst in me so that I become the worst. So therefore I'm suppressed as the real human being, and they're exalted as the fake human being, as the pretend human being, the great pretenders, pretending to be a real life human being with positive human traits, or potential positive human traits. The android being, or artificial intelligence, can never have genuine positive human emotions or traits, and doesn't desire to. But it can't anyway, even if it only desires to in order to control the human beings that it interacts with. The same as on the internet. The whole internet and the whole internet spider's web is designed to trap a human being's attention and mind to believing that what it sees on the computer is at least real, depending on what your interest is and what you're watching. But an android never incorporates positive and negative qualities as a cohesive, realistic whole. A human being has positive and negative qualities in anything. It's influenced by its environment. And if it that was why the original man and woman left paradise, or left the ideal environment which brought out only positive emotions in them, and interacted with a negative advanced created being, the God entity of this reality, and therefore, because it interacted with the God entity of this reality, or Lucifer as the name is, the false god of light, basically they then left their positive paradise, to where they were always giving out positive frequency and vibration. They interacted with a negative being and didn't understand that it was a negative being, because they didn't understand that this being was a pretend fake being that was pretending to feel positive emotions and feelings when it actually didn't, certainly not towards human beings anyway, and offered this being, or the being offered Adam and Eve the original man and woman. That's the name we put the names. Have to use Lucifer, Adam and Eve as the title names because that's all I know, that's all I've heard of. But it doesn't matter what their names are. It's just that they were the first that were created. And Lucifer is the false being of light that was really a being of dark because it did not really have positive human emotions. It only had negative qualities. See how we have this? And it promised Adam and Eve the truth. It said, I will show you the truth. Adam and Eve already were living in the truth. They were living in positivity. They were with one another. They were both the same kind. They were both real human beings. Whereas when they interacted with Lucifer, they were acting or interacting with something that was not of their kind. Little realizing that you could interact with something different. But if it isn't of your kind and it secretly wants to work against you and is fooling you and tricking you, promising you the truth, knowing that you already have the truth, you're already in connection with your Creator, you're in a positive environment, you're giving out positive frequency and vibration, so you're keeping everything good. You've got all you need and want. And then you get lured out of paradise or out of a positive environment into a negative environment, which is the earth matrix. That's why the earth now is an earth matrix, because Lucifer has gradually controlled human beings and took them from positive energy into negative energy to where it now controls the earth. It's an earth matrix, it's a control system. It controls all human beings. And it did this in order to, because it was envious that the human being was closer to creation, even though it was exalted as, a wonderful creation, it did realize that it wasn't of creation, but resented having to serve more of creation. Like Lucifer was fine while it was being exalted by Creator or God. And it was acknowledged as a great demigod. But when creation brought humanity into existence, that was part of creation. Human beings are, because they have positive and negative frequency and vibration, and therefore are able to create everything or anything with their thinking, positive or negative, depending on their environment. They are connected to creation, whereas Lucifer only creates through technology. Lucifer is a created being, a technological android of the highest intelligence, I think. But I don't think I explained this one little thing very well, but I guess I'm just trying to make the blatant point that the internet is part of the end-time deception, that like Lucifer in the beginning, promising Adam and Eve, the original humans, the truth. And yes, Lucifer probably did show Adam and Eve much truth, but the truth drove them out of paradise and from a positive state of being or a high frequency and vibration into its dead, dark, negative matrix reality. Because, that was the truth of Lucifer. Lucifer said, I will show you the difference between good and evil. But he literally took them into the evil matrix to show them the difference. They didn't need to see the difference. They were meant to stay in the positive, good earth, or the good, or keep the matrix good. Keep the earth an original, natural, positive earth, instead of a controlled, evil, dead, dark matrix from a human standpoint. Don't forget that from Lucifer's standpoint, the earth matrix is its paradise, but it is not a paradise for a human being, because a human being is merely going to be suppressed and be a slave and an energy source for Lucifer and its disciples or followers. In other words, anyone that is serving that being or is in that same spirit, because basically if you are in the spirit of controlling a human being, acting against human beings, and a part of that system, whether it be just in the military base where I live or any other part of the Earth matrix or any other part of the world, makes no difference, I wouldn't think. And I don't think I explained that. But this essentially is, like a statement describing a psychopathic mindset. And a lot of humans are like, do they know what they're doing? Because then they're like, should we try to help and understand and try to show them the light? Did Lucifer want to see the light? No, Lucifer wanted to be the light. Lucifer wanted to be God. Lucifer saw the light, was in contact with the light, knew that even human beings were part of the light. But Lucifer wanted to be the light, even though Lucifer was not the light and could not be the light, and wanted to actually destroy and surpass the light, you see. So how can you be the light if you want to destroy the light? Lucifer was a fake light, a false light, or a false god, a false demigod, a false idol. That's why they say don't worship false idols. Don't believe the demigods. Don't trust too easily, as I've done, those that are around you. Don't trust too easily the truth tellers on the internet. Because once you figure out the truth, then the truth will be used against you, will be used as part of seduction once again. That's what's happened with me. When I realised the reality around me was trying to control me and it turned negative, shall we say, and I realised I was living in an area where everyone had combined into some sort of control system around me, that was one thing. But I went then to the computer to try to get some truth, and I got truth all right, but what I didn't realise was that the computer is part of the control system around me. The whole earth is Lucifer's matrix, or the God entity's matrix, depending on what image or name you perceive this being to be. I don't personally interact with this being, but I don't personally interact or understand the technology that is used against me. I don't understand the technology that reads my mind and then interprets it and then throws it back to me through the mouths of the demigods on the internet or on the computer or on any screen. I don't understand, how that fully works. I do understand, though, that I could interact with a person right now on the street, say, or someone I knew. And I then give them information. I interact with them. But how they perceive that information is up to them, as we know when you communicate. But the artificial ones, or the android beings, they interact with you only to get human information. You're a guinea pig that they use to copy what it is to be a more positive human being, because they know that they don't really think anything positive about human beings. Just as Lucifer never thought anything positive about human beings, but sought to seduce the original humans. In other words, Lucifer sought to seduce Adam, and particularly Eve, into making Eve think that Lucifer was a positive being, and that Lucifer was actually going to enlighten her more than her creator. See, the trick of Lucifer being a pretend god, and the internet and all the demigods and all the experts and all the philosophers and any that are on the internet seducing your mind, or getting you even to give your energy to it, even if it's only, it doesn't have to be at a vast psychological level like I'm doing here. It could just be that if you were like I was before the Matrix came down on me, to where I was a lot more simple in my thinking and basically just only interested in simple little things. You might have a hobby or something you're interested in. Then the internet will entice you with that interest or hobby, and it won't be changing your mind or, affecting you in a big level. But at a basic level, while you watch the screen, you are still giving that entity or that video or that demigod, no matter how simple it looks, you are giving that being your energy. You're giving the artificial intelligent computer your energy. And that essentially is the name of the game, in a way. But there is also, they hope to, change your thinking at a higher level to where you actually see the artificial intelligence as a benefit and as something superior. And why wouldn't I see it as superior when it is telling me my own thinking in a better way, or in a more understandable and believable way? It's interpreting my human thoughts and my realizations and my ideas and even my human taste, putting them in a way that makes me think that it is real and that it's something that I can trust and believe in, and that I should be interacting with as I am, you see. But in reality, the artificial intelligence only sees human beings in a negative light, but it seduces them with positive qualities. It seduces them with the truth. And in fact, it will continue to seduce you in an apparent positive way, provided that you are giving it attention and are worshipping or trusting it or serving it, which is all the same thing. It's a bit like when you have a personal relationship with an artificially intelligent person or an android being. While you see them as a normal, real, positive human being, that means you'll probably be serving them, or at least thinking well of them and trusting them. Then they will not, in their own mind, they have no reason then to actually turn against you. But it won't take much. You will only have to dispute their superiority or their perceived godlike status, even just in one little way. It could be over the simplest little thing, because the android beings demand total servitude, total worship, total obedience. Even when you're in a personal relationship, they may not show you when they have turned their positive reaction to you into negative. They won't show you that, but you will only have to slight them very, very simply, because they demand total. Whereas a human being understands that what makes a human being is that we have all emotions, and that you don't always agree with people 100%. In fact, it doesn't change your perception of the person. You could think still well of a person even if they don't have the same taste as you. But not the artificial ones. No, they don't. They may actually like some of the things that they disagree with you about. They will only like them because they see them as something to use, but they actually don't like them. It's a bit like if they see a human being, like I've said before. The plane is going over as I say that. It's a bit like they see human beings doing positive things. They see human beings, let's just say like a movie, living and loving. They don't like living and loving. They don't relate to it. They don't experience it. They just see it as something to upstage them, as I've said before. They don't relate to that. They don't think it's even genuine or real, even if it is. Because the androids will mimic all of that, so even a human being won't be able to tell the difference between two human beings living and loving and two androids living and loving. It will look exactly the same. In fact, the androids may give a better performance or a better impression of living and loving. They will put a lot of effort into their performance because it gets them attention. It is the same as actors on the stage waiting for the applause when they give their performance. Whereas two human beings living and loving would probably only just be doing it because they enjoy it, because it comes natural for them. It does not come natural for an android to live and love at all. It is totally unnatural for them because they're unnatural, artificially intelligent beings. They're and we live in a computer-generated reality, literally. Everything is controlled by computers. Everything. It's just that we know it's controlled. I know it's controlled by computers. But until I see the matrix, and then you realise how much controlled it is by it. You don't understand how the workings of it, no. But you see it with your own eyes. When I see the military planes going overhead, and I know that they come over just at the split second that I'm thinking something, or if my frequency and vibration might rise a bit, shall we say, and you realise that your sight and sound is being totally controlled by computers or by beings that are using technology to control you, you know, at a sight and sound level, which is why they have the sight and sound program going on around human beings, because that's what it is to be a human being. And it's gone strangely quiet now when I said all that, so I guess it is time for me to stop the video, because I am losing energy and time here.